Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWargaming.com, and it's time for another Sit and Talk. The topic for this week's show is improvements that you'd like to see on MiniWargaming.com. I'm looking particularly for improvements to the website, but we can also discuss improvements to our business in general, things that you'd like to see us do. And I got something on my glasses. I'm going to wipe that off. It's going to bother me the entire show. And so the format's going to be a little different for this one in that I'm not necessarily answering questions, I'm more responding to suggestions. So my goal here, and I've even got a clipboard for all the comments this time because I got a pen ready to write down ones that I want to do, is I'll read the comment, I'll discuss it, talk about whether it's feasible or not, if it's something that I would consider doing, and if it's not something I consider doing, give an explanation as to why that might not work. Because customer suggestions are incredibly important, but at the same time, customers don't have the full view of the back end of the business. And so some things that to a customer might seem like, oh yeah, you totally can do this, to a business might actually totally be unfeasible. And then other things will totally be doable. And so it's just good to kind of to hear from you guys. And of course, we'll be going through the top thumbed up ones first, which gives me just more able to understand what people want. Although, you know, the top one has 37 thumbs up, so it's 37 people agreed with it, and actually the first one is good, and I'll definitely be doing that one. So I'm just going to go through that. Once again, we'll have the free portion for the first 45 minutes, and then I'll continue in the sit and vault for the next 30 minutes. And then for next week's show, for the next few shows, I'm going to be doing a bit of a special series where it's no longer a sit and talk with me, but with the various employees around Mini Wargaming, particularly our content producers. And so, like, for example, next week we're going to be having Leland on the show. I'll still be on the show. I'll be more facilitating and being the talk show host. And so all the questions that you post this week are specifically to Leland, not to me. And to prove that you were listening when I said that, so that I know which comments are actually for him, the beginning of your comment should be for Leland, or a question for Leland, or to Leland, or Leland, whatever it happens to be. And any questions that are directed to me, I won't answer next week. It's all about asking questions to Leland. And then next week, I'll let you know who the next person for the week after that will be on the show. So we'll do that for a few weeks. I think I'm going to miss a week because I'm going to be away on vacation. But other than that, we'll just do it until we kind of get through everybody and then return to a maybe normal format as we were doing before. Whatever that happens to be, because I've been switching formats a couple times just to keep things interesting. So let's go through this. Malco888, I know it has been requested before, but a way to see if you have watched a video before would be really useful, especially now that you produce more than I can watch in a week. Definitely. I've got 90% of that implemented because I've been working on the web development for the past few years, and I get ideas here and there and I start them, but then I don't have time to finish them. So I know that I already have it tracking what the viewers are watching. If you're registered, then there's kind of like a quasi history. So I need to make that accessible to you, kind of like how YouTube does it, how you can see your history, you can delete your history. Especially, it's really important to be able to do that on YouTube because it affects your suggested videos, which is how YouTube works. And so you might have watched a video, not liked it, and then all of a sudden you're suggested all sorts of related videos, and you're like, oh, I just don't want to see the related videos to that. So you can go in your history and delete it. But in the other case, there's just the whole privacy thing too. People want to be able to control what a company knows that they're doing, of course. And so yeah, it is currently tracking your history because I implemented it and then never finished that. So I don't even use it for anything. It's just collecting data, not even being used for anything in particular. And so, yeah, it's all just a matter of checking to see if it's already in a user's history. And if it is, kind of overlaying the thumbnail with a kind of a watch thing, how YouTube does it. I think that would be an ideal thing. So definitely. Winds of Fury, the comment section. I would give my left kidney if you introduce a system that lets you reply on comments. Current one is worse than Eldar Strength D spam. There's actually a few things I want to do with the comment section. One is, yeah, being able to reply, because our comment section is like a very old blog type kind of thing where it's just one after another. And even older blogs can still reply to comments. We need to have that. Right now, it doesn't really like certain special characters, even like normal special characters, and so it just needs to be revamped to be just a normal comment system like you would expect. So people can reply to people, and those get embedded, and people can reply to that, and that gets embedded. And so that way they all kind of group together. So yeah, I definitely agree. The comment section needs to be done. Vash 1016, searching bat reps by army type or campaign title would be nice. You can actually already do that. So I guess the real question in your case is kind of making it more obvious in the navigation of being able to do these things. You can actually, on miniwargaming.com right now, if you go to the top of the page, so just go to the home page, go to the top of the page, and hit, you can just hit games, and then hit the game that you want to search for. And then along the top of it, where there's a bunch of drop-down boxes that say filters, one of them will have the game, but if you actually drop that down, you'll see that you can then go specifically into which army you want to look for. And then you can actually filter by video type, when they were posted, and then you can sort them. You can even filter by who created them, like because there's other users that can submit videos, whether they're Vault videos or not, you can do all of that. So that is a thing that's there. Now that needs to be improved, and so that's something that needs, in campaign title, that's the playlist, of course. If you go into the shows tab at the top, you click that. If it's not on the last 12 shows, you can click all shows and find it on that list, and that basically is searching by campaign title, or series like Beatmap Batrap. So that functionality is already there. Doesn't need to be improved, definitely. Doesn't need to be made more accessible, probably. It's hard. There's a certain amount of navigation that a site the size of ours, that's much more complex than just a few pages of stuff, or just a forum, is always going to have navigational issues. There's no perfect way to do it. Like look at YouTube, for example. They've basically taken an approach of, we can only really show based on your history. We can try, if you ever go to YouTube if you clear your browser history, and if you just formatted your computer and you go on YouTube, you notice that basically nothing pertains to you. They'll show you the most popular videos, but let's face it, the most popular isn't necessarily going to be interesting to you. Once you start subscribing to video or to different creators, and once you start liking videos, and once you start watching videos, then they do a better job. And I actually am impressed with their system. It works way better than Netflix, that's for sure, where they then try to show you videos that they think you'd be interested in. And they've done a really good job with their algorithm. It needs improvement, of course. It's never going to be perfect, because it can't be, because they can't read your mind. And unless you actually like and dislike everything that you watch. So if you liked it, like it. If you didn't like it, dislike it. That'll give them more data to try to find preferences for you as well. And so that's kind of their approach, and then couple that with their search. So if a site has to rely on search, it means that they don't have good navigation. And in YouTube's case, how could you possibly organize billions of videos really well? You just can't. And so they just kind of rely on the user to kind of create it themselves. In our case, we don't have billions of videos, we have thousands. So we still have the challenge of having a navigation so that the majority of people who are looking for something, the way they decide to look for it, they will most likely find it. And that's hard. That's hard to do, because it's just hard, because some people will be looking by game type. Some people might want to look by author. Some people might want to look by type of content, like battle reports or campaigns or painting tutorials. Then there's the whole painting tutorials, just organizing all of those in such a way that makes sense. Or you want to be able to just do a search, but then we have to have a good search engine. And face it, we're not Google, and so we don't have the money to have this awesome algorithm. And you might think just use Google search, and that's fine until you get into Vault videos, which are not publicly accessible, and so they can't be included in the Google search. So it's tough. The navigation is going to be the single most challenging thing for me to improve. But thankfully, I don't think it being not perfect is going to kill the business. YouTube is thriving, and they've gone through lots of iterations of that. Because if you create good content, then people they'll find it. And really, for the most part, the majority of people who come to our site are looking for the most recent content, the majority of time. And so our homepage showing you the latest content, that works. Like when I go on Bell of Lost Souls or Beasts of War, really I'm interested in seeing their most recent content because I visit it regularly, and just kind of check out the latest stuff. And so there's Bell of Lost Souls, I don't use their search function or try to find older stuff, because for the most part it becomes irrelevant once it becomes older, especially for them because they're a news and rumors site and they're talking about the current issues. For us, obviously narrative campaigns last a little longer, but even battle reports have an expiration date, and armies get updated, players get better at the game, rules were made in the older ones that aren't made in the newer ones. There's lots of reasons that the older stuff isn't as pertinent anymore. And so I think the majority of people, all we have to make sure we have a homepage that shows you the recent stuff, and that'll get the majority of viewers. And then there's that small percentage of, not that there's a small percentage of viewers, but there's a small percentage of time when each viewer will then be looking for something specific, and we need to make sure our navigation system covers that to a certain basis. But it does need to be improved. Now, hi Matt, you mentioned Chris's quick tips is brilliant for retention, which I agree. So for the love of all that is good, could you please make a way to search through the quick tips? That is definitely on our list as well. Also a challenge, a very big challenge, because how do you do it? Do we organize them? Do we just like have this huge tag system where we go to each video and we make every tag imaginable? Like, what are you searching for? Like when you're looking for a specific quick tip, if you know, okay, there's a couple things that could be happening. One, you remember that there was a quick tip and you want to go back and watch it, but you only remember certain aspects of it. Oh, I remember he was painting a Space Marine and he was painting the symbol, the insignia on his chest. So I got to find that. So what do you search for at that point? Do you search for Space Marine insignia? I remember he was painting it gold. Do you search for gold? Like, who knows what the quick tip was named? If it was quick tip, it could have been about painting gold. It could have been about a painting the symbol. It could be about painting fine details. It could be about painting Space Marines. And so we have one of two options here, is that we could just go into the tag system and give it everything we can possibly think of. Space Marine, gold, insignia, fine details, everything that we think people could search for. The problem is if you have too many tags, then when people search for stuff, they get too many results. Because even if it's vaguely related to something, it'll show up. And so, but if you have too few tags, then people won't be able to find it. They might think of something that's not actually there. So there's no perfect solution. Another solution that we could possibly do is to actually manually sort all of them into several categories, and then so you can just kind of come onto like a text-based category page where you're like, oh yeah, I'm looking for terrain or painting or Space Marines or whatever. All I'm trying to say is there's no easy solution, but it does need to be improved. At least some sort of improvement so people can find it a little better. CW Dub. Hey Matt, first off, I'm going to be long-winded, so sorry for that. And I actually have to be honest. I recently briefly considered canceling my subscription because you guys have switched to doing more Infinity, Age of Sigmar, etc. stuff than 40K. That's really interesting. I find that really funny, actually, because that's happened in the past where people make that comment. Because the fact of the matter is, we've actually increased the amount of 40K content we've done. And I've talked about this issue in the past, that it's not just about how much content we put out, it's the perceived amount of content that we put out. Because in the past, I remember that we had like a 140K battle report a week, and we were doing fantasy every other week. I'm just giving an example, I can't remember exactly what it was. And then all of a sudden we increased our 40K coverage to twice a week and our fantasy coverage to once a week. And then all of a sudden I got complaints saying, oh, why don't you do as much 40K as you used to? Now you're doing too much fantasy. And I said, but we doubled our fantasy coverage. So in the past 2 or 3 months, we actually went from 3 40K days to 4 40K battle report days. And yes, we then also increased Infinity, Age of Sigmar, Fantasy, War Machine, all that kind of stuff. But that's the funny thing, is we actually put out more 40K content than we did just like 3 or 4 months ago. So your comment saying, I was about to cancel because of that, it's an interesting thing, because there's the perception that if your news feed gets filled with other stuff that you're not interested in, all of a sudden you get this idea, this perception, and it's totally valid, that you're getting less stuff that you actually want. It's kind of like if I tell you there's 2,000 videos in the vault, but you're like, but I'm only going to watch a few of them. Maybe I should only have to pay a portion of the membership. It's like on Netflix, you pay your $8 or $9 a month or whatever it is, and it's like there's thousands of stuff in there, and yet you can't find anything. You only find 1 or 2 things, and you're like, is this really worth $8 or $9 because I'm not watching everything? And the fact that the answer to that question is that it depends on how much you are watching, because like a couple movie rentals will cost you the $8 or $9, or like 1.5 movie rentals really. So if you just watch a couple things a month, then it's worth it. But there's still the perceived value, and perceived value is totally different than actual value of a product. And that's why we'll pay $6 or $7 or $8 or $9 or $10 for fast food, and then when we go to the grocery store and have to pay $3 or $4 for fresh food, we're like, oh, that's so expensive. It's just all perception. It's totally out of whack. A lot of it, the value is way off. So it's just, I'm going to continue reading your comment because I know you get into something else because I read this one before. But it's just funny. I just find it funny that we increase 40K content, but then increase other content too, and then people actually think, oh, they're doing less 40K content because we're doing more of other stuff. I understand what you're trying to do, try to broaden mini wargaming's appeal, but it seemed like Wars on Apothis lost steam, and as a result, it feels like you guys got into the habit of churning out content. Nope, it's nothing to do with it. I think the perception that's come in is the Wars on Apothis was rushed, and the battle reports had a rushed pace. And there's a lot of things I regret about Wars of Apothis. It's done now. The finale went out this week. We're going to return to normal narrative campaigns, normal battle reports on a regular basis. But that had nothing to do with all this other stuff. At the same time, we were working on improving all this other content. We hired Leland, hired Quirk, and kind of tasking them to get more of this stuff done. Steve has been increasing the amount of fantasy he puts out, but we've got tons of 40K content going out. When I first subscribed, my second job was working at home, and I spent a ton of hours a week listening to you guys and gobbled everything up. Mini Wargaming helped keep me sane. I don't have as much time to absorb everything Mini Wargaming does now. That's changing again soon. And I recently felt like I wasn't getting the best bang for my buck. Once again, that whole perception of if I'm not consuming everything inside of this, then it's not worth as much. However, two things made me decide to absolutely not cancel. A, the transparency you guys have with the video like this, and the ones you're having next week, how to improve Mini Wargaming. And B, the amazing quality of the new studios. Nobody else comes anywhere near being able to do something that cool, and I felt like my Vault membership was investing in more stuff like that, and that's definitely true, and we thank you for that. Anyway, to keep this short and sweet, I prefer you guys do fewer but higher quality battle reports. I'd rather spend 2.5 hours watching an amazing narrative battle than 5 to 6 watching some high quality but not as cool and somewhat rushed battle reports. I understand wanting to get ahead and filming and having a bank of battle reports, but a lot of content over the last month and a half or so has just felt churned out. Just my 2 cents, Vault member until consumed for biomass. And that's totally legitimate. And I hope you don't think that me kind of talking about your first part was basically saying that whatever you're about to say didn't have any hold, because it totally does. What you said was really good there. I feel that the perception of the whole rush thing is mainly to do with Wars on Apothis, because we were putting out of those 4 days of 40K, 2 of them were Wars on Apothis on average. And those ones were rushed. The other ones, I don't think they were as rushed. Maybe they have this. Maybe there's this kind of the branding now associated with it that we're just kind of rushing through these. I am working on it actually myself. I'm doing some experimenting with spending more time per battle report. It has the complications of increasing cost, but if it has enough increase in retention and in acquisition, then it's definitely worth it to us. And we've got the manpower for it now. Like we're so far ahead of 40K that we need to slow down with it. Like it's kind of ridiculous. If we get too far ahead, then I think we're a month and a half ahead at least, and that's too far. I like 3 or 4 weeks, and it's not even just for comfort. It's the fact that, for example, now the Tau are going to get updated in September, and we have to make sure we don't have any Tau battle reports in there because they'll be put out after that. So it's just important for that reason. But I do agree. I do think that there's a certain saturation point, and for 40K, I think we're kind of bordering that, if not already hit it. And so we're reevaluating how we put into that. Other games like Infinity and War Machine, and now X-Wing that'll be starting, we obviously haven't hit a saturation point. Once a week is hardly a saturation point. Fantasy, there's 3 days of that right now. Technically, we're trying to get into that. But I don't think that's a saturation point because one of them is Fantasy and one of them is Age of Sigmar. So they're basically 2 different kinds of games. But 40K, yeah, we have to start evaluating that. There's a certain point where you reach where it's like we don't need more content, we need better content. And I think we've hit that point for sure. Based off of feedback, based off of looking at statistics, of views and everything like that, I feel it's time to start doing that. And I'm starting to experiment with that. It's going to be a slow change. It's going to take months because that kind of change we have to do carefully because we have a very well-proven formula that is working. Our vault is growing every month. Regardless of everything we need to improve, and there's a lot, our vault is growing every month, which means something is being done right if we're getting more and more customers faster than we're losing customers, because you're always going to lose some. People are always canceling. It's just a fact of life. There's always a reason to cancel. But we're growing month by month. It has been quite a while since we haven't grown from month to month. And so we're doing something right, but that doesn't mean there's not a ton of stuff that we can improve. So that's what we've got to work on. So I agree. Tomps4991, hi Matt, can we have a way to sort the videos by game type, like kill points, battle missions, or Avatar of War missions, or I think you mean Altar of War missions, in the rulebook missions? And is there any chance there is to show off different game types to 40K? As I love the content, but watching the same 6 missions in the rulebook gets a little old and samey. As a narrative campaign are amazing, not just due to the narrative, but the different game types. Thanks. I agree with that too. And it's something I'm starting to experiment with, and I'll be getting other guys to start doing as well. Once again, this will take some time before you'll start to see this because we already have a ton of battle reports done, and so those will be going out first. Okay, here's a good one. Malco888. One thing which gives a sense of being rushed is when someone is talking and their sentence is cut off by the camera operator. Okay, I need to explain that. That's a function of our cameras, and it's kind of annoying because what happens is we're doing a lot of little clips, and because of these little clips, there's a bit of buffering. Every time you finish recording a clip, the camera is basically has to finish buffering that clip and then finishes writing it to the memory card that's on the camera. And it's usually pretty fast. But once you get up to hundreds of clips, usually once you start noticing it around 300 to 400 clips, the buffering time takes longer than a millisecond. It starts taking a quarter of a second, and then a third of a second, and then half a second. And once you get up to really long battle reports, it can actually take a good second or two for it to buffer. So what happens is the camera doesn't beep until it finishes buffering, which is a great function, except that when you're the camera operator and you press that button and it doesn't beep, and then somebody starts talking and then it beeps, it feels like you just cut them off, when really you've already pressed the button in between their sentences. And so a lot of times when you're seeing people get cut off, it's simply because they didn't hear the beep yet of the camera and they didn't know the camera was being turned off. And by that point, there's nothing you can do about it except go through and edit 400 clips, which would just be ridiculously time consuming and not worth it. And so that's an unfortunate, I'm giving a defense to that one because unfortunately there's nothing we can do about that. It's just a function of how the cameras work, unless we're going to all of a sudden increase our post-production costs by a lot to go through and listen to each clip individually to make sure that that doesn't happen, and when it does happen, to cut it off. And that would take our time of editing a battle report from 20 to 30 minutes to a couple of hours. And that might not sound like a long time, well, just a couple hours, but when you multiply that by the number of battle reports and videos that we're putting out, that is a huge difference in time. It basically goes from one person's job to needing 2 or 3 video editors in order to be able to do that, which is not a cost I'd want to put in. I'd rather put that money into studios and terrain and miniatures and content producers, that kind of stuff, to increase quality elsewhere. So that's unfortunate and not really possible. Bat the Mad Bat. I would love to get the bat reps a bit more analytical in the pre and post game shows. Right now the post game shows seem a bit sloppy. I remember seeing this one report where a guy charged a fully kitted out Death Company squad with, I think it was 3 Dune Striders. The inevitable happened. The Death Company ate the Dune Striders in their own turn without being able to strike back. Such a huge tactical mistake has to be pointed out, especially for less experienced players to learn from it. But it hasn't even been mentioned in the post-game show. I know you can't do that with people who just come in for a day or so, but really sitting down, rewatching the footage with the people who played and analyzing the game would be awesome. That is very time consuming. Also, I'd love to see more in-depth list analysis pre and post-game show. What was expected, what held up to expectations, etc. Now, I agree that we definitely need to spend more time with our pre and post games. In fact, the last 2 battle reports I did exactly that. My last post game show, the one I just played yesterday, was 20 minutes long, where we did a really good analysis, and we had a pre-game show as well. And so I do agree. Now, you're not going to catch everything, so things are going to be missed like that. That is inevitable. And I could almost for sure say we're never going to actually go back, watch our entire 45-minute to hour-long battle report, and then film a post-game show, because for the most part, we have volunteers here, and we just don't have time for that. It's just, even if we just play one game, it's sitting down after that game, and you have to wait for the footage. It takes like 20 to 30 minutes for the footage to load, and then you have to stick all that into Adobe, which will then take another 20 or 30 minutes. So that's like an hour lost of your day, and then you got to watch it for an hour, and then do like it's just not feasible. It's totally not feasible. We don't have that much money to put into each game. And if we did have enough money to do that, I'd rather put that money in somewhere else. I don't think that would have the best bang for our buck for our investment. However, we do need to put more time into our pre and post game shows. That also comes with how much time we spend on the games themselves, because right now if we're trying to get 2 games done in a day, you don't have time for in-depth pre and post game shows. But I'm working on that, I'm experimenting with that, and I hope that I can improve that. Website-wise, from same person, Bad the Mad Bat, I think you should really use a liquid layout that scales to screen sizes. You could combine this with a few nice rollover functions on videos that give more information. Overall, a bit more up-to-date look and feel. The search engine could use an overhaul, together with a more potent tag engine. Oh, and as somebody else already mentioned, the comment function is really clunky. Yeah, I agree. Layout and stuff, yeah, definitely we have to look at that. There's a lot of different schools of thought for what kind of layout you should do, so I'm going to have to kind of go through a lot of those different ones, decide what I think is best for our site, test it out. In the end, there's no perfect layout. There's no one size fits all layout. I really disagree with, not what you're saying, but if some people think that you can come up with a layout to your website that'll do, it's a one size fits all. Basically, it works for every device, every screen size, and that just doesn't exist. I've seen websites do that, and I've never seen one done well. Like you basically need, it needs to kind of conform to the majority of users, and then those few percent who are on monitors that are ginormously large or very small, I don't mean tablets, I mean monitors, just have to kind of put up with the fact that it's not perfectly optimized to them, because it's impossible to have something perfectly optimized to everybody's viewing experience. Just think about the large variety of things that we have to conform to now. Not just the size, such as going from a phone to a mini tablet, to a tablet, to a laptop, to a PC with a small screen, to a PC with a wide screen, to a PC with dual monitors, to a PC with a ginormous TV size screen. Not only do you have to deal with all of that in each one of those, and some of them are touch screen, some of them use a mouse and a keyboard. Like there's just so much variety. But then you have to also deal with the fact that not every browser is the same. You have Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari, Opera. You have all these different ones, and then the other ones that happen to be inside of other systems as well. And you got Windows phones, and you've got iPhones, and you got Samsungs, and you have it's just such a huge, and you have Macs and PCs, a huge variety, and it's impossible to have one size fits all. So that mentality, I know it was a big fad, and still kind of is, this whole the name of it just escaped my mind. It's basically where your website adapts to whatever people do, and because there's the whole, do you have the mobile site and the non-mobile site? There's that mentality, or should you have an app to kind of allow people to use your website through an app? There's just a lot of different schools of thought, and none of them are perfectly right, because every site needs its kind of own functionality. Like YouTube still has a different mobile site and has its own app as well. And so, is that the right way to go? It's how YouTube does it, and so it's just a hard question to answer, because every site has kind of a unique thing that they have to kind of approach. They have to look at how it all works together. Because really, as old as our site is right now, it works perfectly fine on a phone and a tablet, because phones and tablets are meant, you can zoom in and then click on something. Like I use our site on a tablet and on a phone, and it works quite well. It works just as well as it does on a PC, and it needs tons of improvements. But the layout stuff, they have. It's a hard thing to really say. But it does need to be updated. So it's an interesting discussion to have, because there's so many different schools of thought on exactly how to do it. It just needs, I know it needs to be done, but how exactly it needs to be done is a hard question to answer. And nobody actually has the proper answer. At least they don't know if they do, because you don't know until you do it and you experiment with it and see how people use it and interact with it. And in the end, even a really bad layout, it can still work, because people get used to it. And like every time Facebook changes their layout, every time YouTube changes their layout, you get like entire groups dedicated to ban the new layout, get them to bring back the old layout kind of thing. People just don't like change. Once they know where something is, it doesn't matter if it was poorly designed, they know where it is. And when you change it, they all of a sudden don't know where it is. Microsoft Office did that when it switched over to its current version, and all of a sudden changed their whole menu system. And it's just like, well, I don't know where anything is. Now that I know where everything is, I like it. Do I like it better? I don't know. Does it work better? I don't know. Is it more user-friendly? I don't know. I just know where everything is now, so I don't care. So that's the hard thing. Hey, okay. ABF 36, suggestion for battle reports. I would like to see some larger games, example 2 to 3K, rather than 2 small games every time. Yep, I agree. Definitely agree. Glover, hi Matt, I will appreciate if you added handling of special characters from other languages. Lately I was a PM with a print in Polish, and Polish characters were all changed to weird looking stuff or something else. I suspect that it won't be a big problem, just adding new additional ISO. Yeah, that's part of improving the comment system, because that's one of the issues. Because even like simple things like it's even English characters that are on the keyboard, if they're just weird enough. I think when it was made, there's, you have to make sure all the characters don't inject SQL queries or mess with the HTML on the page, and so you have to kind of make sure you check for all that stuff. But I think it went too far. Razel, the best way to improve the website, get rid of the ever-present right and left strips that bring you to the vault advertisement from all pages. Every time you click anywhere, your video stops and you send to the ad and you have to go back, start the video again, and find manually the moment you were watching. Really annoying. Yeah, that's our background ad thing. That needs to be improved as well. I do agree. Okay. Just skipping a few that aren't suggestions. Illuminini, hey Matt, I think that on the home page could benefit from the following changes. One, the larger video columns such as mini wargaming content and vault content could be reduced in size and everything moved down in favor of a welcome to mini wargaming, so introductory notes and a bit of an about us section. Conversely, the homepage could be an extended introduction to mini wargaming with an extended about us section, and the recent content could be its own page. That's actually, I'll be frank, not a good idea, because the majority of people who come to our homepage are not new. It's like 20 to 30% of people who come to our homepage are flagged as first-time visitors. So at most there's that many. Because like, so let's say you look at our website on a phone and then you go and look at it on your computer, it looks like you're a different user. And so it's not accurate completely. So there's no more than 20 to 30% of people who come to our website who are new. And so having that kind of functionality is it's not a good idea. In fact, you'll notice that any major website will not spend hardly any of its real estate on its homepage catering to somebody who's brand new to the website and helping them to get to know that website. They basically just want to get to business and show you the content that you're looking for, the products that you're looking for, whatever happens to be. So I don't think that'll happen. In fact, I'm going to be giving probably more real estate to individual videos to try to give them kind of more of a visual appeal. Is more likely what will happen. Okay. Master Crafty, I may be a minority here, but as I have kids, sitting down for a 1 hour plus battle report is tough. If there was a way to bookmark and put chapter markers in videos, then I could put it down and come back more easily, maybe each turn, so I can come back and watch turn 3, etc. Are you asking that we add the bookmarks, or we add functionality to have bookmarks, like that you can be like, you pause the video, and then when you come back, it picks up where it left off? Because YouTube does that, not when it's embedded. I haven't seen it do that when it's embedded, but I know that if you're on their site and you were already watching a video and you come back to it, then it remembers where you were. And that's a good idea, because then you can just pick up where you left off. So pick up where you left off. We're definitely not going to add chapter markers and stuff at any time soon, because that would just, once again, be too time consuming for the return that it would have. We always have to look at every change. Is it worth the amount of extra time? If it's a one-time change, that's easy. We can put as much money as we want into that. But if it's a change that affects every video that goes up, that's not a one-time change. That's something that improves or increases the cost of every single video. Zam664, I would love to see more smaller games, 600 to 900 points. This eliminates much of the overpowered units and creates more balanced armies. So some people want to see larger games, some people want to see smaller games. So there's never going to be, we'll never be able to make everybody happy with that. Now, having said that, yeah, we'll do some larger and some smaller and some in between. So yeah, it's just funny that it's like one person is like, I wish you did more bigger games. And then somebody else is like, I really wish you did smaller games. And then if we did both of that, we did all that content, you still have somebody else saying, you know, you're not putting up enough 40K, you do too much Age of Sigmar. And somebody else is like, I really wish you did more Tau. And then if we put up more Tau, people are like, I'm really sick of Tau. I wish you did more Orcs. Like, it's just never going to be perfect. People always have exactly what they want, and it's never going to be completely there. And so, but that doesn't mean we can't try to improve the stuff that we do or give them more variety. Dexy, would love to be able to make playlists. Yes. I see the most of the videos on YouTube because I can make a playlist. After seeing all I can, I enter the vault and see the rest. Yeah, that's a good idea. We have a playlist function there, but it's mostly internal for us to put it on playlists. All right. Okay. Dark Knight 27, Matt, there are a few things that I would like to see done with the website. One, I'd like to see the website optimized for mobile. Could be a cell phone, could be a tablet. Okay, so I already talked about that. On the landing page for your site, I'd like to see each video series, Beatmap, Batrap, Game of the Mountain, etc., have its own space with the 2 most current videos shown. That works to a certain extent, like I said, it's more important to show the most recent content because it might have been a week or two since the Gaming with the Mountain came out. So, and the more shows we add, the more convoluted that gets. So it makes more sense to have a separate page that does something like that. So the homepage, I don't see the homepage changing in the sense that it will always be the showcase of the most recent content. And then it should have quick access to functionality that'll let you start filtering that. So one thing I see us doing, and we already kind of have, but I want to improve it, is having like the ability for you to say, I just want to see 40K content. And that way, all the other stuff is not there. You just see the latest stuff. And you can just kind of start browsing through that and being able to set those kind of preferences and all of that. Or I want to see it by shows. I want to see all the different shows. And so then it gives a list of shows. We have pages like that right now. They need significant improvement, but they're all there. But the homepage, I don't think, should ever be dedicated to anything else other than showing the most recent stuff, because that is what people, the majority of the time, want to find. And that's what you have. There's just a million things you can stick on the homepage. And if you do too many of them, then the homepage becomes cluttered and not good anymore. It's the whole Yahoo versus Google. Why did Google overtake Yahoo when Yahoo was one of the first to do search engines and directories? It's not because Google had better algorithms, because back then they didn't. No matter what you searched for, you found something completely different. Trust me, I remember it, and it was always so frustrating that I thought I hated the internet. I'm like, I hate the internet. You can never find anything useful. And it was because they had a simplified homepage. I totally believe that that's actually the reason. Yahoo, MSN, all these ones tried to become like a portal to the everything of the internet. News, weather, search engine, videos, images, all this kind of stuff. They tried to have that all packed onto their homepage. Now think about it. Google provides pretty much all those things. They have news, they have images, they have videos. Heck, they have their own videos, and they have YouTube as well. They've got maps, they've got calendars, they've got email, they got all this stuff. And yet when you go to their homepage, what do you see? Big old Google logo and a search bar. And then, a little bit on the top that lets you sign into your account and start going through all that different stuff. And I think that's the reason that they actually surpassed Yahoo, is because it just became easier to use. And then couple that with them actually really focusing on the algorithm over time, because at first, like I said, it wasn't that good. Over time, it became an incredibly good algorithm and really good search engine. But you know what? A lot of the other search engines now have good algorithms too. It's just that Google was the first to get in there and do that. So the homepage, a lot of times less is more. Now, finding out how much less, it's hard to know, because not everybody needs a Google homepage like that. Google's like the portal to the entire internet. So they know that pretty much everybody's going to be searching. Whereas for us, if people are searching, then our navigation failed. That's usually the general rule of thumb. If people are using your search, then your navigation failed that person. Doesn't mean the navigation was bad necessarily, it just means it failed that person, and maybe it needs to be improved. So, yeah. A better way to sort videos would be nice, yes. And those are all secondary pages though, so it's like, okay, I'm on the home page, here's the most recent stuff. Now I can be like, okay, now take me to just see 40K stuff. Take me to see the shows, all that kind of stuff. And those will be secondary pages. Okay. Oh, here's a long one. Malco, 888. Mini Wargaming is almost the only TV I watch, and as such, I want to be able to go to it for a variety of televisual products. I want sports coverage like low-polished bat reps. I want chat from the Mini Wargaming personalities that I've come to love. And I want big production value TV series like hyped narrative campaigns with custom terrain and converted character models, and story times and tributes to fallen heroes and bells and whistles. And I want endless vids of Chris calmly and humorously painting every model and technique under the sun. And I want it searchable and thoroughly tagged by producer, Army System, date, series, studio. And I want an informal newsfeed that just trickles Mini Wargaming teas and content and comment at me in multiple media formats. I come to the site every day. I don't watch a whole battle report every day because I'm busy and my time is not my own. I just want to click a button and get a short whiff of Canadian, fun, silly, game-related, XP gathering, army building, paint watching, idea bouncing distraction from my real life, because I'm a vault member and I'm giving you money to carry on being Mini Wargaming. I want to see my cash being spent on fun I don't have time to have. I'm vague and needy and opinionated, and I like Mini Wargaming. Just show me a close-up of an amazingly painted miniature, tell me the wicked backstory behind it, and then pan out to a massive battle that I don't have space for in my life. Mini Wargaming doesn't just produce battle reports, it makes entertaining vids that gamers enjoy. This post is way too long, but I can't fix that now. Thanks, guys. Thank you for that nice comment. One thing that I've been thinking that you just made me think of, actually, because it actually is related a bit to what you just said, is I'm thinking I want to start doing articles on our site again. we actually started off with the idea that we'd have some articles and some videos. And I kind of want to return to that because it gets a couple reasons. One, there's certain things that articles can do better than videos. Let's just face it. A lot of times, like for example, Bell of Lost Souls with their news and rumors. I'm not saying we're going to do news and rumors. I'm just saying, giving this as an example. If every single one of their news and rumors was in a video, I wouldn't watch them. I just don't have time to turn on a video and go through whatever personality and all the preamble they do. It's nice that they're in an article format and that you just kind of jump in, you can skim, you can find what you're looking for. There's some nice pictures and you consume it at your own pace. Videos are awesome, obviously, I think that, but they're not the only correct format. It's not like one format can ever take over another format. It's just that it does certain things better. Like I prefer video battle reports over written battle reports, but at the same time, a written battle report can do something a video one can't, which is you can get the idea of what happened in the entire game within a minute because you can just scroll through it and not read all the extra fluff text, just look at the pictures or whatever if it's well written and well done. And certain things like terrain tutorials or even painting tutorials, I know we're not going to stop making video painting tutorials, don't get me wrong, but I think we could really start to supplement with some articles. The other thing that it does is it gives people another reason to come to our site. Because we really need to focus on that. We love YouTube, we love Facebook, and those will always be a huge part of our marketing methods, especially YouTube. But the more people who eventually transition over to visiting our site on a regular basis, the more Vault members we get. Because when you're on our site, you are much more likely to become a Vault member because you're exposed to a different kind of culture than what you are on YouTube. And then the comment section is generally nicer on our site than it is on YouTube as well. And so the more things we do to kind of give you stuff to do on our site. I'm not talking about turning it into a social network. I'm not going to try to make the wargaming social network. Facebook is a great social network. YouTube is great at hosting videos. So we need to be an amalgamation, something that you just go to when you're bored and you just go and you want new stuff there all the time. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. How many times you open and close Facebook. I saw a comment saying, I sometimes open and close Facebook like my fridge, thinking that maybe I'll find some new thing every time I open it when I'm bored. I want our site to be like that. And so adding in these other stuff like articles gives you a different thing to consume. And it's not about ad revenue in this case, it's just about getting you on our site, which would then make you more likely to be commenting and subscribing and consuming and then becoming a Vault member, of course, which is our ultimate goal because that's what makes us money. So yeah, but thank you for your comment there. Okay. Mentality. You were talking about mats. I had a really cool idea that you guys could do that we normal gamers can't. You could get a large monitor, or maybe where you link four together, place them under a big piece of plastic, and then use that as a mat. Basically, it would allow you to have a custom different mats all the time as simply as putting a JPEG on your screen. And haha, since it's just a background, you don't need crazy good monitors, just cheap low res that lets you link screens. You only do it for one room where it fits the decor. I think that would look awful. No offense. Because it would be shining light up under your miniatures and on the terrain, and then you plop terrain on top of that. It would just never look right because the lighting would be so off. It's an interesting idea, but I don't think it would actually work. Vandex, simple suggestion for the website. When I click the link to the Vault video link under the free version, I'd rather it not open up in a separate tab and take me there directly. Yeah, that's just we do got to fix that. That's just the code that we use, the URL linker. It always is because it was originally there for like links to other people's websites. We wanted to open up in a new website, so we can at least have it checked to see if it's linked to our own website and not have it open a new one. And then you talk about searching Chris's quick tips better, which we already covered. By the way, I'm not going to get through all these comments on the video, but I actually have read through most of them already, but I will make sure I read through all the rest of them too, because we're just about out of time for the free one. Carl4T7, keeping me logged in. As much as I love your work, if I have to watch the sign-up vid once more, I will go insane. I've had that comment before, not by a lot of people, because I'm confused by that one. We use a very, very simple cookie system that is kind of foolproof, and I don't get why it doesn't work for some people. So you might want to check your privacy settings on your browser, because it might actually be on your end. I'm pretty certain it is. Like the set cookie function in PHP is incredibly simple. You set the cookie, you tell it how long you want it to last, and what domain it should be on. And that's really it. And then it just checks for that cookie. That's all it does. It's such a simple part of the programming of the website that I've looked at it and looked at it again, and I can't figure out why people would not be automatically logged in if they checked the box to be automatically logged in, and their browser settings don't have it deleting cookies. Because you can actually have privacy settings in your browser that's like, once I finish on a website, then it clears the cookies for that. Or if you're using incognito mode or private mode or whatever or in private mode, whatever they're called for the different browsers, which is meant to hide your history and other stuff that you're doing, then that's going to automatically delete the cookies right after you're gone from the site as well. So check your browser settings, check how you're doing it, because I am 99% sure that's going to be on your side and not our side, because of how simple a system that we use. It's really simple. It uses sessions if you don't check the box, and cookies if you do, and cookies are persistent. I think it sets them for 30 days or something like that, and so it shouldn't. I've never had a problem with it. I'm always logged in, and it keeps me logged in forever, as long as I keep going on the site at least once a month, which obviously I do. I never get logged out. Okay, we're out of time for the free version. I'm going to continue this, of course, in Mini Wargaming Vault, in the Sit-in Vault in the link below. And of course, if you're not a Vault member, you can still click it, get a free 7-day trial, so you can get instant access to this and everything else that's been coming out, and help support us and be able to make more videos. Thanks for watching, and remember, next week we're going to have Leland on the show, so ask all your questions to him. Happy wargaming.